$20,000 a day. That's the number a man who walked out of Lancaster State Prison 8 months ago said into a live stream camera while eating snow crab at a restaurant in Santa Clarita. Not a yearly figure. Not monthly. A day. The woman across the table from him is pregnant with his 4th child and spent 35 days in an Indiana County jail on a felony warrant. He looked at his chat and told them to subscribe if they wanted him to stop cheating on her. The number, the woman, the jail, the subscription ask, all in the same frame. Nobody in those comments stopped to ask which part of this is the part that should worry them. If this is the kind of room where we read the fine print while everybody else reads the headline, you're already in the right place. Lock in with us real quick. This one's got layers. Jonathan Jamel Porter, the rapper known as Blueface, was released from Lancaster State Prison on November 3, 2025, after serving roughly 14 months of a 4-year sentence for probation violation tied to a 2021 Las Vegas assault. His CDCR record, publicly searchable under number BY4625, lists admission on September 4, 2024. Within weeks of release, he began dating a woman known online as Nevaeh Akira. On February 22, 2026, the couple announced her pregnancy on a Twitch livestream, his 4th child. His restaurant, King of Crabs at 26234 Bouquet Canyon Road in Santa Clarita, opened in January 2025 while he was still incarcerated. Something doesn't line up, though. And that's where we're heading before this one closes. The restaurant opened while he was still inside. The woman across from him has a paper trail that started before she ever met him. And the distance between what this live stream is performing and what the filings actually show is where the story we're tracing today lives. California's Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation maintains a public database. Jonathan Jamel Porter's record is searchable under CDCR number BY4625. It shows an admission date of September 4th, 2024 at Lancaster State Prison, a Level 3 facility which CDCR classifies as medium to high security, typically housing inmates who pose moderate to high risk. His mother, Carlisa Saffold Harvey, confirmed the release in a November 2nd Instagram story showing Porter's son walking into a room where someone lay under covers. "Your dad threw them all off, didn't he?" she said. His father, Jonathan Porter Sr., posted that same day. "Today is the end of a chapter in my family's life. Tomorrow is the beginning of a new chapter in my family's life. Can't wait." Hot 97 reported the release on November 3rd, noting that Porter took to Instagram to address fans for the first time since his release from prison and gave followers a brief tour of his home. Power 105.1 added that Porter declared he's still that N***** 2 years later and showed clips of his kids and their reactions to his homecoming. Sentencing stemmed from a probation violation. In October 2022, Las Vegas Metro police arrested Porter on an attempted murder charge after he allegedly shot at another man's car outside a strip club. Prosecutors dropped the attempted murder charge as part of a plea agreement. In October 2023, a Clark County judge sentenced him to up to 3 years of probation on charges of discharging a gun and battery. That probation was revoked after he was reportedly found with drug paraphernalia, and in August 2024, a judge imposed the maximum 4-year sentence. Separately, a Los Angeles judge ordered all of Porter's ASCAP and BMI royalties redirected to Jacqueline Martinez, Soulja Boy's girlfriend, to settle a $123,245 default defamation judgment. Martinez sued after Porter allegedly spread misinformation about her child's paternity. He did not respond to the lawsuit, resulting in the default ruling. All Hip Hop reported that attorneys for Martinez filed a royalty seizure request, meaning Porter's music income is being diverted at the source. On the personal side, Hollywood Unlocked reported that Nevaeh Akira, Porter's current girlfriend, appeared on a podcast where she discussed selling drugs while pregnant with her first child, a son named Superior Shine, from a previous relationship. The interview's audio was bleeped in a way that led some viewers to believe she had said she engaged in sex work while pregnant. She subsequently clarified, "I said I sold drugs, and I had her bleep it out. Never sold pussy while I was pregnant." Pregnancy with Porter was confirmed on February 22, 2026, during a Twitch livestream. Capital Xtra reported that Porter appeared visibly stunned by the news on stream. iHeart noted that the announcement made Nevaeh officially Blueface's third baby mama. So let's line these up. King of Crabs opened January 20th, 2025 in Santa Clarita. Porter's CDCR admission date was September 4th, 2024. He was incarcerated at Lancaster when the doors opened, meaning the man whose name is on the building was not physically present for the launch of the business that now bears his brand. Someone else opened it. Someone else staffed it. Someone else ran the first months of operations while he sat in a level 3 facility. Wait, hold up. That's the part that reframes everything. He announced the plans in late 2024, which means either he was planning the restaurant knowing he was headed to prison, or he was already inside when the announcement went out. Either way, the timeline doesn't describe a man who got out, had a vision, and built something. It describes a man who had something built on his behalf while he was away, and then walked into it when the gates opened. Revenue claims from the live stream paint their own picture. Early figures showed $4,200 in a single day, which Porter celebrated on stream Instagram via the Jasmine brand. A later stream revealed a record $7,000 day, then $69,000 in a month. And in the footage we're tracing, he says, I probably made like $20,000 a day, from $4,200 to $20,000 in roughly 8 months. That's the arc. Those are self-reported numbers broadcast on live stream, not audited financials. There's a difference, and the difference matters when your ASCAP and BMI royalties are being seized at the source to satisfy a court order. Here's the sequence. He gets out November 3rd, 2025. Within weeks, Nevaeh enters the picture. By February 22nd, 2026, she's pregnant, which means conception occurred roughly around his release window. She's due, per her own statements on the stream, sometime in the coming weeks. And at some point during the pregnancy, she was arrested. The stream references 35 days in an Indiana County jail. She mentions a probation officer. She mentions her mother speaking to a lawyer. She mentions that old dude, someone connected to whatever incident led to her arrest, is still locked up. A separate report indicates the warrant stemmed from a 2022 drug charge and involved extradition proceedings Facebook via Don P. So, in the span of about 8 months, prison release, new girlfriend, pregnancy, her arrest, her release, and now a live stream from a restaurant where he asks people to subscribe in exchange for fidelity. Somebody in the comments who actually knows Indiana's county court system, specifically whatever jurisdiction held her, has to know what the warrant was for, because every search we ran came back split between Oklahoma extradition references and local filings. Drop it if you've got the paperwork. This pattern didn't start with Nevaeh. Porter met Jaden Alexis in high school, 2014. Their on and off relationship stretched over a decade, producing 2 children. Javon, born April 2017, and Journey, born 2022. In 2020, he launched an OnlyFans reality show called Blue Girls Club, through which he met Chrisian Rock. That relationship ran from 2020 to 2023, was marked by public volatility, arrests, and a child, Chrisian Malone Jr., born September 3rd, 2023. He proposed to Jaden at SoFi Stadium in October 2023, 2 months after Chrisian gave birth to his 3rd child. Then Nevaeh, then pregnancy, then the restaurant, then the live stream. 3 women, 3 children, a 4th on the way. And the structural shape of each relationship rhymes with the one before it. Intense, public, volatile, content optimized. Let's zoom in on 3 things. Not the whole scene, 3 specific pixels. First, the subscription ask. On the live stream from King of Crabs, Porter turns to his chat and says verbatim, matter of fact, sub up. If you want me to stop cheating and really be on a good path, well, sub up. If not, shut the fuck up. He says this while sitting next to his pregnant girlfriend. He says, I haven't cheated in 8 hours. He says, it's been a whole day. He says, I haven't even thought about cheating. Then minutes later, Might not cheat tomorrow. Might cheat. The woman next to him, pregnant with his child, is present for all of it, and the chat rewards him with gifted subs. That's not a relationship update. That's a monetization loop. He's converting the performance of commitment into subscription revenue in real time. The fidelity of the mother of his fourth child is being crowdfunded. Had to read that back twice to make sure I wasn't mishearing it. Second, the money. A Los Angeles judge ordered Porter's ASCAP and BMI royalties, the performance and mechanical royalties generated every time Thoshiana or any of his catalog gets played, redirected to Jacqueline Martinez to satisfy a $123,245 default judgment. He didn't respond to the lawsuit. The judgment came by default. The seizure happens at the source, meaning before the money ever reaches his account. Meanwhile, he's on live stream claiming $20,000 days from a restaurant. If the royalty stream is capped and redirected, the restaurant isn't a side venture. It's the primary cash flow, which makes the self-reported revenue numbers a lot more important to verify than anyone seems to be treating them. If you've worked in restaurant finance, actually no, if you've even talked to someone who runs a seafood boil spot, you already know that a $20,000 revenue day on a single Santa Clarita location is the kind of number that either means the place is packed wall-to-wall from open to close, or the number's being rounded up for the camera. Seafood boils run some of the highest food costs in the restaurant industry. The margin on $20,000 of seafood revenue is thin, and nobody's asking for the P&L. Third, the podcast. Nevaeh Akira sat on a podcast and described selling drugs, pounds, while pregnant with her first child. The audio was bleeped in a way that created ambiguity about what exactly she was selling. She clarified publicly, drugs, not sex work. The clarification itself became a second news cycle. The original admission became the first. 2 news cycles generated from a single podcast appearance, which, for someone who now appears on live streams with a rapper who monetizes his own relationship drama, suggests a learning curve that's climbing fast. 2 framings have dominated the coverage. They don't agree with each other, and neither one holds up under the receipts. Frame 1, call it the redemption arc, comes from the blogs and the social commentary accounts that covered the prison release and the pregnancy announcement as a comeback story. Man goes to prison, man gets out, man opens a restaurant, man finds love, man is expecting a child. The verbs in this framing are rebuilds, turns it around, starts fresh. The engagement photos at King of Crabs fit perfectly. A couple of restaurant crab legs smiles. The framing asks you to see a montage and not ask what's behind the curtain. Frame 2, the concerned observer runs through comment sections and commentary channels that have tracked Porter's relationship history. This framing emphasizes the pattern, the cycling of partners, the public volatility, the children across multiple households, the threats of replacement. The verbs here are concerning, repeating, here we go again. This frame is more honest about the past, but sometimes flattens the present, treating every new relationship as identical to the last without accounting for what might be different. Somebody in the comments is going to say, he's building a real business. He's out of prison. He's with his woman. Let him live. And that's not an unreasonable position on the surface, but the receipts, the royalties are being seized. The restaurant opened while he was incarcerated. It's not a post-prison redemption project. It's a pre-prison arrangement he walked into. The woman he's with has her own active legal situation, probation, a lawyer, a probation officer, 35 days in county. He told his chat to subscribe in exchange for not cheating. He told a pregnant woman she's one mistake away from being replaced Facebook via undefined lyrics. He doesn't get tested for STDs because his pregnant girlfriend handles it for him. None of that is the architecture of a man who's rebuilt. That's the architecture of a man who changed the set. The paper trail ends here. What follows is what the paper says, not what the headlines said, not what the chat said, not what the couple said on camera. What the documents, the filings, and the timestamps actually add up to. The mainstream read on this is straightforward. Blueface got out of prison, opened a restaurant, found a woman, and is living his life. That's the version the algorithm serves. It's clean, it's simple, and it requires you to not look at any of the documents. So let's look at them. What this actually is, and I want to be careful here because I'm not saying the man can't change. I'm saying the paper doesn't show change. The paper shows a relocation of the same machinery to a different stage. The thesis: Jonathan Porter didn't rebuild his life after prison. He rebuilt his content strategy. The restaurant isn't a business venture that happens to generate content. It's a content set that happens to serve food. The relationship isn't a personal life that happens to be public. It's a public performance that happens to involve a personal life. The pregnancy, the live stream, the fidelity subscription, Ask, the crab legs, though I forgot I owned a restaurant bit, all of it is the same apparatus that powered the Blue Girls Club era and the Korean Rock era, just with better lighting and a lower security setting. Consider the structural parallels. Blue Girls Club was an OnlyFans reality show where Porter housed women and documented their interactions for content. The King of Crabs live streams are a Twitch broadcast where Porter documents his interactions with his pregnant girlfriend for content. The format changed. The monetization model evolved from OnlyFans subscriptions to Twitch-gifted subs. The woman changed. The apparatus didn't. The royalty seizure adds a dimension nobody's talking about. When a court redirects your ASCAP and BMI income at the source, your music catalog stops being a revenue stream and starts being a garnishment target. The restaurant, with its self-reported, unverified, live stream announced revenue figures, becomes the primary cash flow, which means the content generated from the restaurant isn't marketing for the business. The content is the business. The food is the set dressing. And the relationship fits the same architecture. Jaden Alexis. A decade of on and off, 2 children, a public engagement at SoFi Stadium that Korean Rock called a publicity stunt on Instagram Live. Korean Rock. 3 years of documented volatility, a child born September 2023, relationship effectively over by the time the engagement to Jaden happened. Nevaeh Akira. Dating within weeks of his release, pregnant by February, felony warrant, county jail, probation, all within an 8-month window. Actually, hold on. Let me pull back for a second. I'm not calling this a grift. I'm not saying the restaurant doesn't serve food or that the relationship isn't real. Those are claims I can't verify from the outside, and I'm not going to pretend I can. What I can verify, what the receipts show, is that the public version of this story and the documented version of this story are running on 2 different tracks, and the gap between them is where the content lives. The performance of success and the documentation of success are not the same document. But when he says, sub up if you want me to stop cheating, he's not making a joke. He's making a business model. The chat gifted subs. The subs generated revenue. The revenue validated the ask. The ask generated more content. The content generated more clips. The clips generated more attention. The attention generated more streams. And the woman sitting next to him, pregnant on probation, recently released from county jail, is the co-star of a show she may or may not. One more jab. He said, I be forgetting I'm that end though. I be forgetting I got a restaurant. He said this on a live stream from inside the restaurant. You don't forget you own a restaurant. You forget to mention you own a restaurant when the mentioning is the content and the forgetting is the bit. The bit is the brand. The brand is the business. And the business is the bit. Don't be surprised if the restaurant numbers keep climbing, and don't be surprised if nobody verifies them. The self-reported revenue figures have already escalated from $4,200 to $20,000 per day over 8 months, with no audited financials, no tax filings, no restaurant industry analyst confirmation, and no external verification of any kind. The incentive structure rewards the escalation. Higher numbers generate more clips generate more attention generates more foot traffic, and more foot traffic can actually create the revenue that was being claimed all along. The prophecy can fulfill itself. By the time the first quarter tax filings would be due, the content cycle will have already moved on to the next storyline, and nobody will circle back to check whether the $20,000 day claims matched the actual receipts. The beauty of self-reported live stream revenue is that it's audited by nobody and forgotten by everyone. Once the baby arrives, watch how fast the content shifts. The child becomes a character in the narrative, not by exploitation necessarily, but by gravity. Every previous relationship produced content-optimized children. Javon appeared in interviews. Journey appeared on Instagram. Krazian Jr. appeared in the tabloid cycle before he was a month old. The fourth child enters a system that's already built for them. The question isn't whether the baby will be on camera, it's how soon. By the time the probation situation settles, either Nevaeh's or the structural aftermath of Porter's own release conditions, the next relationship arc will likely already be in development. Not because this one fails necessarily, because the pattern is the format. When I haven't cheated in 8 hours is a content beat, the expiration of that beat creates the need for the next beat. The next beat historically has been a new woman. The format doesn't change because the format is the product. 3 reads on where this goes. The redemption arc actually completes, the pattern repeats with a new cast, or the format evolves into something we haven't seen yet. Pick yours. Here's a specific prediction you can check back on. Within 12 months, there will be a public conflict, either with Nevaeh, with Jaden, with Krazian, or with some combination, that generates a multi-week content cycle. The conflict will produce clips. The clips will produce reactions. The reactions will produce commentary. The commentary will produce more attention on King of Crabs. And the restaurant revenue will either spike during the conflict or be cited during the conflict as evidence of growth. Either way, the conflict feeds the business. The business feeds the conflict. That's the loop. The residue, the part that lasts after the views cool, is the children. 4 of them now across 3 women in 3 different households with 3 different relationships to their father's public profile. The residue is also Nevaeh, who entered the story as a woman with a podcast and a past and is now 8 months pregnant on probation, sitting in a seafood restaurant being told she's one mistake from replacement while her boyfriend asks strangers to pay him to be faithful. The residue is the distance between the person she was when the camera found her and the person the format is turning her into. That's the part that doesn't trend, but it's the part that stays. The restaurant opened while he was still inside. The woman had a paper trail before he met her. The distance between the camera and the documents, that's where this story lives. We traced it. You saw the receipts. Like, subscribe, bell, next file's already loading.